the sound the support thing makes. It's like chiming in the next pick and ban. As we do get into it, we already have the same ban so far. MVP banning out Alistair. Malzahar getting taken away by Kongdoo Monster.
The Malzahar ban is a bit of a surprise. Didn't see much of it in the previous years. The Zoe ban on blue side. Enough of that rubbish as MVP. Don't want to deal with Zoe mid lane. Want to see what else Edge has. Traditionally an Orianna Ryze player is Edge. So I imagine Orianna, Ryze, and Azir are certainly going to be considered picks for the side of Kongdoo Monster. When it comes to the first pick, a lot is open so far. See which way they want to go here, MVP.
Lots of thought into the third ban. Probably trying to predict
AD carry, maybe?
What Kongdoo Monster would ban out and what they could go for as a first pick. Don't want to leave open Camille. Didn't want to first pick it. Didn't want to take the chance of Kongdoo not banning it out. Ezreal does get banned.
If they want Kog'Maw, they have to first pick it here for Maha. Kongdoo Monster will certainly take it on red side in the first round, so that's going to be a heavy consideration. Yep, just taking it first pick, so high prize. Maha has had some good games on Kog'Maw in the past as well, but the cost is going to be whichever mid laner Edge wants, and Azir, T-list wise, is probably right up there next to Ryze, but does mean that Ryze goes to the side of MVP, so they're not necessarily that unhappy. I guess the one kind of psychological factor is that Ian was just obliterated on Ryze, so maybe you don't care if he gets Ryze, and they're even playing with the psychological side, being like, hey, we know Ryze is open. It's a good matchup, but did you remember the last game? Maybe you don't want to go for Ryze this time.
Yeah, it wasn't too good in the Ryze versus Zoe Jarvan matchup, if
Maybe
you will.
just Jarvan here. Jarvan's available, be a good first-round choice, but seems like they're not going to be going the way of their Jarvan. Very early Tristana, so want a bit more information before they settle on a jungler. Maybe Raze has something special to show us, but hypercarry for hypercarry. There's not much left after Kalista, Kog'Maw, and Ezreal are gone when it comes to first-round AD carries, and Tristana has been having a bit of a renaissance in recent games.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot. I've played around with it. I haven't been too impressed, but it definitely is a pick that you can go for, right? There were other stuff like Jen. I mean, there's Twitch still available. We saw Kale hovered there for a moment, made me lose my breath, but most likely going to be the Kazakhs coming out here. Haven't seen it just yet.
A lot of bans
either
today.
banned or just not played today.
Yeah, a lot of bans. In terms of matchups into it, Rengar is a bit of a skill matchup. Again, Jarvan you can just take, and you'll be Jarvan, it's probably fine. So he gets the information here, does Raze. Could just go for his pick of the junglers. Sejuani is banned away, but apart from Sejuani and Kazakhs, a lot left open. Would expect jungle here unless Raze is really prepping something crazy.
Okay, I mean, they're going to go for the Shen here.
It's flex pick, yeah, worth
flex
noting.
pick,
they are on red side now. There's a lot of flex picks that we haven't really seen too much attention on so far in tonight's games. Shen is one of them. Camille's another one that serves as a flex pick, so could definitely be support Shen from Secret. Will be our first support Shen in a long time here in Korea, but is a favorite in solo queue especially.
You are leaving up Jarvan and Ornn to both be banned out here. If you do go for the Shen pick instead of the Jarvan pick or instead of the Ornn, that is, by the way, still available. We'll see if it does stay available for too long, because I feel like that wouldn't be a bad first pick in the second phase for Kongdoo Monster to just pick up again. Roach looked great on it. I'm not sure if MVP should leave that pick open again.
You see the Braum ban, which also suggests an Ornn first pick, because Braum is one of two champions that can just break the call of the Forge God. Yeah, it does force an Ornn ban here, so hard to say if Kongdoo Monster was going to settle on Ornn, but they certainly forced a ban out of MVP.
Okay, a very quick Zac pick here for Raze.
Makes sense why they delayed it for a while. If you choose Zac early, while Azir has presence, Zac usually needs strong lanes to get through. If you just have winning lanes everywhere for MVP, then you see Zac invaded like we saw time and time again in the LCK playoffs last year. So a little bit of extra safety there for the Zac. One of the great counter picks to Zac is the Thresh, who has the ability to just use the Flay and interrupt the initiation. So another favorite of Max's as well. So first Thresh of the season.
Yeah. That is going to come in, and this is one thing I was going to mention, the Vladimir to come in, so it denies something like, you know, a Gangplank top if you were going to go into the Shen support. They pick it up, it's not bad into other picks, but instead they switch to the Gangplank, and they're saying, we don't believe that your Shen is going support.
I mean, they're just playing like for like. You remember, they did the same thing here. Kongdoo Monster showing Rise, then locking in Azir. There's a lot of lanes that can overpower a Gangplank. Irelia is an old one. Roach has traditionally played Gangplank and tanks. We're now expecting it to be a top laner. You do not want to take Shen into the Gangplank. It's going to be a little bit more normal. Nara is a good matchup into Gangplank as well. The Shen support is confirmed for the first time in 2018.
We'll see if Secret can bring out his secret power. That looks like a Gangplank drawing. Nicely done. He says, for LoL Champs Spring, let's go with Gangplank. And he said he came here to watch Gangplank, so I suppose he's lucky tonight.
Yeah, everyone is getting what they want tonight here in the games. Had a lot of innovation, more standard draft here. The eye-opener is the Zac pick from Raze. Different type of champion to the Jarvan. You don't expect level 3 roams with Azir, Zac. Such a different proposition to the pick power of Zoe and J4. So I think the speed of this game could be very, very different, and that'll definitely suit MVP, who just want to play themselves into any sort of form after being in disarray in Game 1.
Yeah, definitely gives MVP a new shot at it. You know, they're not going up against Zoe Ornn anymore. This looks like a much more normal game. We'll have a couple, or even 3 tanks once Gnar hits that Mega Gnar form to help out the Tristana in the front. Also has Azir for more just disengage or engage on that.
MVP's comp is a little bit more all over the place. Rise and Gangplank, good split pushes, no front line for the Kog'Maw, so Kog'Maw denial more than necessarily a Kog'Maw focus comp like we saw from Kongdoo Monster in Game 1. Don't have to build around Kog'Maw, but sometimes you need to be convinced. So I need to be convinced that MVP really do have everything on the ball after Game 1 especially.
Yeah, definitely looks like that. They went into the back room, they did a bunch of strategy talk, and good news, guys, there is no pause this time around. So the countdown has started. Let's jump into game number 2 of Kongdoo Monster versus MVP. Man, both of these teams have brought out every single fan they have to the studio. This is just as filled as the first series that we had tonight. Thunderous applause from the crowds here.
That's why I said, even though when everything, all the chips are out there by the 90th game of the season, do we expect these two teams to be in the playoffs? Probably not. Hope springs eternal. It's match 1. The season is what you make of it. And Kongdoo Monster certainly have put their admittedly smaller contingent than the MVP fans rapture after Game 1. They looked great in it. Can they make it work on a draft like this, which is very different? I think if Kongdoo Monster can have even a poor imitation of the previous game, but still a dominant victory, maybe we have to reassess some of these Kongdoo Monster series as we move forward.
One of those Wolves went over to Tristana.
That means level 1 for Raze.
Yeah, a Wolves start for our Zac pick. Very interesting. He's going to start over here by the Raptors by himself as well.
Well, as long as he's not invaded, I guess he'll be fine, given that he has all the healing from the W, but certainly not ideal. No power leash, no quick level 3 potential gank on top lane, for example. But the good thing is you kill a couple of small Raptors. You don't even need to kill the big one to get the level 2, so definitely frustrating, but not a game ender by any sense.
Great start for Roach up in the top lane. EDD having a bit of trouble. Still has 2 stacks on his Corrupting Pot.
Yeah, Roach is a really interesting player. He's been the sort of player who, I think in most people's estimations, has been, the bottom or bottom 2 of top laners when he's been in the lane been in the league multiple times. And you might think, okay, why is he still there? But talking to his team and people who know the Kongdoo organization, they've been full of praise for him, saying he's a carry player, saying that he's a young player, but he's still trying to find his feet. They've shown confidence in him for the best part of 2 years. So for him to finally pay off, kind of like Smeb, who had a very slow start to his career, and actually take the next step, it's a very big ask to be any sort of approximation of Smeb. But I think Roach has kind of had his chance to season himself in and out of LCK, and if he doesn't show something in LCK Spring 2018, he's probably out of chances.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, he had a great first game on the Ornn. We'll see Gnar a bit more of a skill-based champion if he can make that work.
Also consider he was on the back foot just farming on Ornn, and now he's on the lane aggressor, lane control champion in Gnar. So just like we said, let's see Kongdoo Monster make things work with 2 different types of draft. On a micro level, seeing that from Roach also tells us a lot about him as a player as well.
As we have a bit of a lull in the early game, you were mentioning the inspiration tree being picked by almost everybody in the last game. This time it's 4 members on MVP, main on 2 of them and secondary on 2 of them, and only 3 members on the side of Kongdoo Monster, with no one maining inspiration actually on the side of Kongdoo Monster.
Yeah, I guess not that big a surprise. Zach has to go into domination for the zombie wards. You need junglers with at least domination as a sub-tree. And then when it comes to Roach, he's showing a bit of respect to Gangplank, who, if he gets an early gank, can run away with the lane. So going secondary resolve and just looking for the auto attack harass. The Gnar is one of the few champions that actually still picks up Summoner Aerie after the nerf a few patches ago, just because a single auto attack harass is enough to proc it. So harass with the Q, but also harass with the auto, just trying to keep his opponent at low health and then threaten a dive basically at any point, because Gangplank will spend the entire laning phase 50% HP or below.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that the Gangplank does not go into Inspiration, takes Domination secondary. Would like to see what he picked up in that.
Agree with that. I see almost all Kleptomancy Inspiration into Resolve secondary, so Domination, I guess Zombie Ward is probably what you said. Maybe something like Taste the Blood, or actually not a cheap shot, I guess, possible, but I'm interested to see what his second one was.
We'll probably get a look at that.
I doubt it's any sort of snowball mastery, so yeah, it is interesting to see, especially because Resolve was buffed. Resolve secondary, I guess Resolve in general was buffed quite a lot on this patch for everyone who didn't want 160 health at level 1. The fact that you now get laning stats, AD or AP, does help the laning phase of people that went into Resolve. So again, very surprised to see ADD, but if any man is going to do things a bit differently, ADD is certainly the top laner to fit that bill.
Yeah, he basically just does what he wants. Picks champions that nobody else really picks.
How many weeks till we see the Scion, Valdez?
I've seen it maybe once in solo queue.
I see it quite a bit.
We've both been playing a lot of solo queue.
I see it quite a bit.
Really?
So
where in top?
Yep,
or
in top.
How about support?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm an offender of the Comet support. It's so funny.
So the person you've been seeing a lot is yourself.
No, I don't play
Scion.
it in top though.
Oh, okay.
I see it myself in the support role, but in top lane, I mean, it's unkillable, so that's pretty good.
True. Also in a 2v2, if you die early, you can help out. Good stuff like that.
Seeing a bit of jungle attention here from the Kha'Zix, considered by many the top meta jungler on this patch. Some people will say Jarvan. Most people will be saying the Kha'Zix. Even after the lethality nerfs, losing 2 lethality on Serrated Dirk and also the evolutions in a recent patch.
Yeah, it's you can do a lot of damage very fast. I mean, the entire domination tree allows you to do that, but electrocute as well. It's pretty oppressive, and especially level 6, you pick up the evolve on your ultimate, so every time you enter a brush, you gain movement speed and stealth, so your mobility in the jungle gets out of control, your mobility in general, your gank potential, because you can come out of the brush, and invisible, and then ultimate to get extra stealth, and then you enter the gank on top of the guy, and he's like, okay, I had no idea you were there, I'm just dead.
And as a flow-on effect, also consider that it's pretty much super tanks in the support role, and then DPS members elsewhere. So just that reality means that there's a lot more space for you to not have to evolve a damaging ability and have enough damage in the lane to follow up a successful gank. As we can see the keystones here for Secret, he's not taking Zombie Ward, which on first glance seems like a mistake. Sudden impact there for the extra damage. It's weird that he's taking those 2 in particular. Of a domination tree, I would definitely not expect to see one of the I believe it was Ravenous Hunter, but also going into the sudden impact. That's a bit strange.
Yeah, trying new things out. I mean, Shen support isn't exactly super meta. You see it from time to time, but trying to teach us a new thing. Maybe it's his own secret rune page there. So see what he can do with that. On our screen, it actually has inspiration underneath his resolve, so maybe it was a mistake. Not really sure.
I'm guessing so, just because Ultimate Hat.
He has the stopwatch.
Yeah.
Ultimate
Hat is so good.
Guys, we have a rune issue here, and I don't really know what to tell you.
hey, it's not me saying anything. I'm new here. I'm being nice.
Yeah, we got the confirmation it was wrong. There's first blood as Roach turns into Meganar and Raze with the follow-up. Roach, once again, dominating his lane.
I like your seamless transition from confirmation from production into first blood. Very nice, Valdez. Turret dive, you're expecting whenever you're against a Zac comes true. The stopwatch, apparently, eyes was off the keyboard for a second and leads to the first blood. Beyond's going to try and solo the Drake, which against Ocean is always pretty painful, but he'll get there eventually.
Yeah, it's going to be a really nice Drake to pick up this early on in the game. Get a little bit more sustain for Gangplank up in top. And that's pretty much the main thing. I guess Ian can get a nice bit of sustain on both his health and his mana in the lane up against Edge.
And I tell you guys that from playing Shen support and also looking at players like Gorilla, it's usually Ultimate Hat and the stopwatch are the choices.
Makes sense.
In the Inspiration Ultimate Hat is so good just because you have such a long cooldown that 5% CDR and then an extra 2% on a 3-minute ability is very relevant when it comes to presences. This time, I'll give you another time. You can play-by-play this one this time.
I mean, ADD, he just walked into it. He's like, I'm not going to get away, so I'm just going to try to remove Scurvy. But it was already too late. Zac barely did anything at that point.
All right, if they show it a third time, I'm going to play-by-play at Valdez. Where's my play-by-play at?
You can do it. I'll let you do it.
I don't think we're going to see a third replay of that one. It's going to be a sad game if that one's in the post-game replay.
You can do the next team fight. How about that?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
You sure? I mean, we got some riveting action between these two teams.
I know that some people misunderstand the label color casters, but
okay, there we go.
Let's call it special comments.
It says sorry. It says sorry next to Secret's name. On the left, it's like, sorry about that. But these are actually the real runes.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's actually the free-ass boots.
Yeah, free-ass boots instead of Ultimate Hat, so... Actually, it's not Sorcery Tree. What am I saying? Of course, it is Inspiration, so... free-ass boots makes a lot more sense. Look, sorry, guys. Sorry from Papa Smithy as well.
We'll just put a sorry next to your head the next time we come on come on the camera.
We're learning, guys. We're learning. Just like when I tried to remember the names King Zone and KSV.
Oh, that was fun.
In our Samsung versus Longzhu series.
Yeah. Well, we got another K team in this one in Kongdoo. At least we call them Kongdoo. We don't call them like KDM. There's probably a couple of people out there that call them KDM. We got a gank up here in the top lane. Maha and Max trying to predict that flash. He got really close. Props to him. And Raze coming from the side decides against it.
Could have considered a flash flay instead of the prediction, but looked damn cool. Couldn't pull it off in that particular start.
Sometimes I feel like Max just plays to get the highlights, to get the MVP points. Okay, here we go. We got the death box coming on in, and Shen won't even be able to help you out there. TP also was used by Ian just to take that tower aggro, I suppose.
I mean, it's good map movement from MVP. First kill of the series for them, but also rotating and getting the Gangplank out of the Gnar lane and potentially picking up a first brick here as well. Smart moves by them.
Wow, that barrel doesn't do much.
Nope.
Yeah, that is going to be the first brick here for MVP up in the top lane. Secret and Soul trying to hit one back down here in bots, but Secret ends up eating a bunch of damage. That last Q does miss. Edge coming on in, trying to help on out, but not needed in the end.
I'm not sure why Edge rotated. There was some vision spotting him coming down, and a turret dive seemed pretty unlikely. But I guess he just wants to get the turret down, so just trying to have his presence felt, and one more rotation from Soul should be enough to take the turret. They're delaying this turret long time, and now Edge has to leave. The bot lane will get back, and it's a turret for no turret trade here for the side of MVP. Very nice.
Speaking of very nice for MVP, they have the Rift Herald on the way. Here's a replay of this.
You're going to see the replay. Even through the Shen ultimate, when you Shen ult early, not going to have as big a shield. I don't think it would have made a difference either way. So very easy dive coming through from MVP.
Yeah, we do have this Rift Herald on the way here by Beyond.
Looked like he was waiting, didn't want to over DPS and try and get another auto attack onto the back exposed, but it wouldn't expose again, so falls a bit lower. We'll get the Rift Herald nonetheless. Lane assignment here for MVP has been much, much better in this game. Getting Kog'Maw into short lane, even with his summoners up in mid lane. The Thresh can just go visit other brushes, start warding around the mid lane, and just have a lantern for safety. So good lane assignment for the Kog'Maw. They've been able to keep Gangplank out of the Gnar lane for minutes now, which is also good for them. They will finally lose a turret, but MVP are managing their resources a lot better in this game than game one, which admittedly isn't saying that much.
Yeah, definitely. And Raze is doing his part here in the jungle, just trying to counter jungle just a little bit. He hasn't really had too much of a show in this game. Definitely not as much as he did in game number 1 on the Jarvan. Keeping up in farm with the Kha'Zix. Has an assist. Just helping out a little bit in the top lane. I think Roach probably could have gotten that solo kill by himself anyway, but sharing some of that gold. We'll see what the Zac can really do later on in the game. It's going to be very hard to get onto that Kog'Maw with a Thresh right next to you when you're playing a Zac.
But the conventional team comp should be much more straightforward for Kongdoo Monster to pull off in team fights, given that no early snowballs happened just yet for MVP. If I think about how MVP actually grows a lead and finds a gold lead to get over some of their compositional disadvantages in team fights, they have a lot of Baron damage, and they have the ability to rotate over to it. Speaking of rotations, Raze misses everything.
Oh boy, Ian, I hope you have a stopwatch, and yes you do. 1v5, you get out of anything because you're Ryze with the stopwatch.
Hey, whenever there are new runes, someone is going to use a rune the best. You think of Presence of Mind for Kassadin, you think of Stopwatch for Ryze. So yep, a freebie there to get up. Means you can't do it in the late game, so it doesn't feel good to commit 4 people and just get a budget stopwatch out, but that's all you get. They're try and force Kongdoo Monster to react to the Rift Herald, but not going to get the mid lane turret here, you'd have to think.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. You can see Beyond ADD and Ian are hanging around, even Max as well. But the entirety of the Kongdoo Monster team is coming on in here. Let's see where Roach is at. He was near his Mega Gnar, but just didn't have the positioning from the rest of his team. Gets MVP to back off, and they kill the Rift Herald. The mid turret stays alive.
Feels like a bit of a disconnect. He was so close to Mega Gnar that even a bit of burst damage wouldn't have killed him, but because everyone else had backed away, a Shen ultimate on top of him, the ultimate there, even if it hit, wasn't going to do that much, is Secret's falling low, but MVP just poking.
He kind of just ran through. He's like, yeah, hey guys, I'm not going to die because I'm tanky, but he lost a lot of health, still has his ultimate available. Stand United could be used to get back into this fight, but looks like Kongdoo Monster will just give away this Mountain Drake to MVP.
I like that they're playing to their vision. They do have one deep ward, but otherwise river control is completely there for MVP. They do have burst damages early in the game before armor itemization, everything comes through. So have to respect the damage, so they back away.
Roach, he wants blood. Mega Gnar is going to run out. Will not have an opportunity to slam anyone into a wall, and will just awkwardly walk away from that lane.
Didn't cover himself in glory in that particular play. Probably wishes he had an Ornn ultimate to use. That would have been a bit more straightforward. Lane priority has been there for MVP. It's another good swap. You're seeing here a grouped up minion wave for Gangplank to take with no Gnar auto attacking him in the face. So that's what I've liked from MVP. It's been the biggest adaptation macro-wise, is being a lot smarter at playing around an area that was losing, which in this case was ADD, predictably against the Gnar.
Yeah, has picked up that Triforce, the Trinity Force rather, at this point. So feeling pretty good so far. Still has a stopwatch available for the future. Always got to keep that in mind. And so far, Edge has the most farm in this game on that Azir. Looks like he's been sitting pretty against the Ryze, who has done a little bit of roaming so far.
Let's see how the fundamentals are of Kongdoo Monster. They're not snowballing out of control. They're very much more in defensive mode, relying on their late game team fight abilities. See, too many teams, especially teams near the bottom of the ladder, draft this way, where any analyst can look back and say, man, outscale. Yep, late game, they've got it going, and then choose fights before their items are done and actually accelerate their own demise. They're going to play aggressively onto Ian.
Boy. They're trying to make this Shen work aggressively. He's going to flash forward for the taunt. Edge was killing minions back in the lane. Now Secret's by himself. He's forced to flash out of that one. Not the gank Kongdoo monster we're looking for.
Yeah, I ended up telling a bit of a prophecy there about getting a bit too frisky when you have the scaling comp. Just unnecessary. Go in, draw out the flash, and then back away. But they were on two different wavelengths, Edge and Raze not having the same level of synergy this game. Understandable, still beta testing to be done. But they'll back away. Not too much lost in that particular situation as Teleport's coming in onto Roach.
Oh, he realizes it a little bit too late. And even Maha and Max are rotating up here. So 4v1, can you do it this time, Roach? Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Flay comes in, and they give the kill over to Ian.
Zero will get a turret, or at least a big chunk on a turret in trade. Gangplank doesn't want to teleport to it, so yeah. Even though Roach's top laner sense maybe let him down, are able to get a lot of turret damage as a response.
Yeah, the question is it worth it in the end of this all? We're going to see Kongdoo Monster continue with the gold lead at 1850 into this game. Now, MVP does have a lot of pressure here in the mid lane. Everybody's grouped up. You see Gangplank in the top, Kazakh's hanging nearby, but Raze and Secret, it looks like they're thinking about a gank from the side, and MVP, they're really far pushed up.
Roach could teleport in as well. Yep, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. There's the teleport. It's 5v3 right now. Beyond a little bit too late. There's that Dream of Shovel to get everybody back into the back. That's going to be one kill. A little bit of a mishap on the Tristana ult. Pushes Maha away from the rest of them, but Raze is not yet done. He's going to knock a Maha, and it looks like his time on the Rift is over. That's going to be a second kill going over to the side of Kongdoo.
That was largely excellent play for the side of Kongdoo Monster. Great double stun onto the Kog'Maw there coming through from the Zac, and then the Emperor's Divide pushing everyone in. Like you say, could have been a little bit cleaner, but they got the bot lane turret as a trade for a single kill. Allowed Roach to teleport back in. And big damage on mid lane. And all Beyond can really do is try to wave clear. It's not going to work, and it's a second turret to the side of Kongdoo Monster.
Definitely a disappointing follow-up here from MVP as they got a couple of decent advantages in this game, but now Kongdoo Monster once again are just coming over the top and winning fight after fight. You know, they give away the kill up in top lane, but what does it matter when you take a fight like this?
MVP go through their head, they think, okay, we have the ability to siege with the Kog'Maw, it's 5v4, but they don't have wards on their sides. If you cannot see Zac, you cannot auto-attack a mid lane out of turret. It's not possible because of the range of his engage. And Zac as a champion just completely owns them because they don't actually dot their I's, cross their T's. It's a solo Q-esque mistake, but at the highest level, it'll be punished by any team in the LCK.
Yeah, I would have to agree. It's almost like MVP is making Zac look really good because of their positioning, and that's not a compliment. So we'll see if they can continue to think about Raze on the Zac. He's got Warmogs completed after his jungle item, so he's going to be tanky as hell. And engaging non-stop.
Just back to the wave clear in mid lane. Side lane still pretty short for both teams here, as there's outer turrets in top and bot for one team respectively. ADD's happy with the extra time to farm to continue to keep this CS lead around 20, as it's been for the majority of the laning phase. Again, to me, MVP's best way to victory, best path is Baron, because they have a lot of Baron damage and they have the Rise. So the way you get Baron is to either trade it for a Drake, which seems unlikely that they'd allow that. Kongdoo Monster can be surprised at 20 minutes, or to really extensively ward up, say, the top side of the map, and when Kongdoo Monster tried to divide up the bot side of the map, for example, just ult straight into Baron and try to burn it. We've seen that already tried once today and failed in our first series. So a play like that, I think, is the big thing here, because I look at the team and you're like, okay, 5v5 doesn't really work. Maybe you can win in a side lane if you can outnumber, but then you need to know where Zac is at all moments. But Baron damage is something that is in the camp of MVP.
We'll see if they have the wherewithal to go for a play like that. So you got to imagine they're not feeling too good about their overall situation. Team fights, as you were mentioning. This is going to be a free Cloud Drake given on over to Kongdoo. We'll see if Beyond wants to go in. But Raze is here. The smite is not going to work out. And the Lantern gets Beyond to safety. So Cloud Drake picked up here for Kongdoo. Did not give away 3 Drakes over to MVP this time around.
It was a good contest from Beyond. They had the first 2 Drakes of the game, so just a backup win condition of a super-powered Elder Dragon when they have the late from Kha'Zix and also the Lantern, meaning they don't have to actually blow a flash. It was worth a go. It doesn't happen. Kongdoo Monster now on the board when it comes to Drakes. And let's look at the map, though. I mean, what do we criticize MVP for when they were caught in mid lane? It's the vision in their side lanes. How is Kongdoo Monster able to keep up control wards on the bottom and top of mid lane? Plus, they have control wards everywhere. Just one on Baron now being erected here by the side of MVP. They need to play to their vision because being denied vision against Zac is basically losing a game.
Yeah, I mean, they had control of the mid lane. They take out the top side control ward, but the bottom one is still there. It didn't even decide to check it.
I mean, it's a little bit more tricky than that because you have to rotate multiple people around. You also need the Thresh there for a Lantern, but I take your point, and the vision they did get down is being very quickly eliminated by the side of Kongdoo. Yep. If they have a vision advantage, Kongdoo decides everything. Is that going to engage? Are they just going to farm out with a superior 5v5 comp? You cannot give them options. As MVP's team comp, you need to pose these questions like, are they doing Baron? We don't know because we can't check the vision. That's the sort of thing that needs to be happening. Otherwise, we get back to this equilibrium point that favors Kongdoo.
Yeah. I felt like the only reason MVP was able to get any vision near that Baron was because Kongdoo Monster sent 2 of their members back home to shop. And now that they're all shopped up, immediately the vision control goes back to Kongdoo Monster, who have
5 control
of this game. 5 control wards. Better macro so far. They got Azir down in bottom lane to take the tier 2. Now he's in top. He takes the tier 1. And Ryze doesn't stick around to try to clear the waves. It's not really working out for MVP too well. They're going to retry here at mid.
Using smites aplenty to try and get the down. Should be able to burst it down this time.
They actually do get the hook here onto Shen, but here comes Zac. Is going to knock a couple of heads together onto Ian and Max. But in the back lane, you can see a fight going on. Beyond almost gets taken out. Raze gets away with his life, and in the end of it all, Beyond is the only one that dies. And here they go once again.
They're
not done. They flash forward, trying to knock a couple more heads, but the passive is procced here onto Zac. We'll see if they can actually get that out with the Bioarcane Barrage. Looks like not going to happen, and Zac will get out. So in the end of it all, a turret for 1 kill against Beyond.
I mean, this time they tried to power down mid lane, they got it, but you can see that Kongdoo Monster, they didn't have the same setup time they did in the previous team fight in mid lane, but they still almost make them pay as severely. Only a single kill flatters the setup from MVP. They tried to rush it down, but again, where is Zac is the question that needs to be answered before you ever start trying to siege, because he comes in, he knocks heads, he displaces people everywhere. It wasn't the worst possible from MVP, but it still was a bit all at sea. 5v5 team fighting when you're not on the same page makes it even look trickier than it is with the team fight comp they have.
It's a nice try there by Raze to make more of the play. They wanted at least one more pick. Maybe they get a shot at Baron if they do so, but was not quite the case. He ends up blowing his passive, which is unfortunate. But again, another kill going over to Kongdoo, and they still have all of the vision. Now those wards from earlier have mostly all expired around the Baron, and MVP really just has no idea what's going on around that river.
I'd love to see a stat for what percentage of this game Kongdoo Monster have had 4+ control wards live on the map, because it feels like it's minutes upon minutes. It feels like it's a pretty significant portion of the game. Right now, I spy with my 4 control wards, so I believe one person doesn't have this down. It should be worth noting that the 2 in bot lane, who I assume by the bot lane ages ago, and they haven't updated it closer to the path of the action, but it does mean that Narano's not being ganked, so they have some small value.
It's probably the Tristana ward. I mean, you can see that she doesn't really have much inventory space to buy control wards, but she did buy one at once. So control ward comes down here from Ian, immediately gets popped, but at least they have spotted and almost catch Soul with the Thresh hook. Does not work out, and Kongdoo Monster continue to have vision control. Let's take a look at the damage here. Kog'Maw is way far ahead in this game, and not too much damage overall is one thing you can notice, even though we're 30 minutes into this game.
So Kog'Maw in this particular game has had a Zac to auto that obviously he's not going to kill, but he's always had a target because it's Kongdoo Monster diving into their backline, so he doesn't get kited from doing damage, like, for example, the side of Kongdoo Monster haven't had targets because there's no one tanky on the side of MVP. If you have tanks, the enemy team's going to do damage because they're there to soak, whereas they have no tanks, so they can't afford to be in the line of fire. 1,000 damage kills any member on the side of MVP short of maybe max, so that's why the damage numbers are low.
They lock down Raze and actually a retreat here, but the TP coming on in from Roach. He's going to hit Meganar, and Max is going a little bit too far. They're going to trade supports here. Now a knock up onto Ian. He brings him back. Is there enough damage to take him out? Not quite. The shield gets him, but then Roach knocks him into the wall, and there is going to be that Azir damage coming out onto the ADD as well, and Kongdoo Monster just barely get out of this one ahead. Lots of low members, but they do win the fight.
Yeah, end up going 3 for 0 overall. No deaths on the side of Kongdoo. Sorry, I should mention Shen went down. So 3 for 1. They had control wards again, so they weren't losing in terms of vision, because losing an auto attack because someone jukes into a brush is such a frustrating thing in a team fight. It wasn't ideal. It took a long time because Zach wasn't actually able to get into the fight till much later. You'll notice takes a bit of damage, and he's kind of walking around when this action really starts. They DPS onto Max. He's first to go down. By the time Zach comes in, it's already a 1 for 1, but Zach does his thing. The rest of the members are all over the place. Beyond almost burst down Soul. So Soul was trying to take advantage of auto-attacking over a wall.
Yeah.
But almost gets assassinated doing so. He's got a stopwatch because so does everyone. And they got a Baron, I guess.
We got a fight going on here. The Baron goes down and Beyond gets hit. Max will go down too. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to see what happened. ADD looks like he's running away, but from what we can tell, it looks like very Kongdoo favored as they take the Baron, and now they're going for a push down mid lane.
I mean, they still had the wards down, you'll remember. So this return, they said, well, you don't have any vision around here. DPS down Baron. They have incredible siege and so many frontline tanks. One day they'll know where Zach is, probably when he's right on top of their faces, because they still don't have any vision on him. Goodbye, inhibitor. And this game went from 0 to 100 in a breath of a moment. And suddenly, Kongdoo Monster are a team fight away from victory.
Well, we got Azir sitting at 4-0-3 at this point, looking towards his 4th item. Edge having a very nice game on a different champion. But really, it's been about the teamwork. Let's take another look at this replay around Baron.
I mean, Ian's in base. You know, Ian's not going to be there. They try to poke around, put the Baron damage. We said that's the one thing that the side of MVP had. Well, turns out Kongdoo Monster do plenty as well at this point in the game. AD can't do anything. They have no frontliners, so how do you 5v5 fight when the 5 members of Kongdoo Monster are grouped? You don't, Val. There's nothing they can do.
It was a great move. You were mentioning the vision. It was all about the vision. They just didn't know what was happening. It was a close fight, but immediately, the second everybody on Kongdoo went back home and was healthy, they started the Baron right away.
And you look at the comp from MVP, and you think, solo queue, great team comp. Lots of people here can solo carry, a lot of damage. The problem in competitive is, if they were able to keep up vision that they clearly aren't, their vision control this game has been very poor, then you can do things like rush down a Baron. But if you draft this team comp and your fundamentals are worse than the enemy, then you just lose because you can't do anything. You can't gank, you can't start Baron, you can't face check. Who is the face checker? Is it Max? Because he's going to die pretty fast, Righteous Glory or no. No one can face check, so the Baron is free for the side of Kongdoo Monster. And 2 games in a row. The first game you can say power picks, the second game it's just about what MVP thinks is good. I think they just have a misread on the draft at the moment, a misread on the meta, because this is pretty woeful stuff, honestly.
I mean, we always have this in the beginning of a new patch. Which team is going to get acclimated to the new patch faster than the other team? And so far, the obvious answer is Kongdoo over MVP. And we've seen it play out here. I feel like overall the macro play from Kongdoo Monster is looking a lot better from last year. I wouldn't say it's pristine, but it's looking good, at least against MVP. Would love to see what they can do up against one of the stronger teams in LCK.
Let's see if they can close it out here. Ray's charging up.
Yeah, he's jumping on in. He's getting low, though. They're able to burst him down. Not quite, though, as the shield comes in at the last second. But this does mean that because they engaged a little bit early, they can't get the inhibitor just yet.
Yeah, Ray's just wanted to zone, but realized that, hey, 5 damage dealers still can do respectable damage. He's got Warmogs, though, so as you can see, Warmogs and an Ocean Drake. He's full health again.
How did that happen? It was like 10 seconds ago, I swear. And Soul, he's level 15. He's got some pretty good range now on the Tristana. Able to pick that down, and Raze thinking about going on in.
Just zoning.
Yeah.
Didn't even have to commit to it. They get the 2 inhibitors. They get away. Kongdoo Monster, 7,000 gold up. And with good news stories in multiple different places. I haven't been this enthused with a Kongdoo Monster performance ever in their history in the LCK, because
That's a good thing. That's
you
good.
get through 2 games. Let's say they win this game. You think, okay, they could play the OPs. They can also play around a Kog'Maw. We knew that already. They can play around Sol. Sol has not been the star in this series. I think Edge probably takes down MVP rights. Roach made some mistakes, but look better. Raze has been a revelation, I should say. That was hard to say for some reason. Oversay Punch, who really did toil inside and outside of the LCK. And we said before the game started, okay, they can play the pick comp and snowball. How do they deal with teamfight comps? They put down great vision, they take the Baron when it's available to them, and they win the team fights. So check marks on both, Valdez.
Yeah, they've passed the first test of LCK. Take out MVP. It's like when you're playing Mortal Kombat and you got to go up the ladder of the different opponents that you got to beat. They've gotten through one.
All right.
I don't know the schedule. I would love to see who they're playing.
Who would you
next.
say is the Mortal Kombat equivalent of MVP?
I don't know the characters well enough.
Striker,
actually.
maybe?
Striker? Is that one of the earlier ones?
He's the one with the gun.
There's a what?
Mortal Kombat 3.
I played the one on Sega Genesis, Papa. We do have a fight going on here. Edge gets extremely low. We got Realm Orb coming in, but Ian is all alone.
Okay, he's dead.
Yeah, Beyond jumps in, and Raze is just getting out of there. A big mistake now from Kongdoo Monster as we are praising them. A couple of members get picked off as they dive a little bit too deep.
Now, they did get the final inhibitor turret, so it is 2 inhibitors down and a exposed inhibitor to go back to, but a mistake's a mistake. Edge was kind of on his lonesome. We'll see the replay of how this in fact transpired as we were making our Mortal Kombat metaphors. Edge is the slowest one. He's slowed down, and then look at this. He just gets completely burst. That was a Q from Gangplank, a W from the Kha'Zix. He was, dead to a single Q from Kha'Zix afterwards. So it's a little bit too slow. Didn't want to use his cleanse early to just cleanse a slow, and ends up paying for it. So a lot of damage on the side of MVP, but the timing means that really no way for them to turn around the game from just that single mistake. It's going to take many more from the side of Kongdoo Monster for MVP to get back in.
Yeah, it's that small glimpse of genius that you see very occasionally from ADD. It's part of the reason why people were singing his praises. They were saying he's got a ton of potential. He's really young. He notices that they're just 1 inch too far forward, and he ults them all. Ults all 5 of them, slows them all down. He has Beyond near enough, and he makes that play happen. So he buys his team a little bit extra in terms of time in this game. We'll see if MVP can make the miracle comeback.
See, the reason why I'm not going to talk about comebacks yet is you consider the terrain they were fighting around. There's a big defender's advantage around inhibitors compared to in the open. They also, as we mentioned, can't face check because they don't have tanky members. Because they don't have any tanks, how do you recreate a fight that you choose the timing of and that you're not engaged on by a Zac or a Shurima Shuffle from the Azir around the Baron? It's impossible for MVP to do that. So to recreate what led to their victory in a team fight with this particular team comp is so difficult. They're still going to take some pretty significant mistakes, I would say, from Kongdoo Monster to actually allow an even footing fight for MVP.
Look at Roach. He's like not doing anything, just looking at the Baron.
And they're just going to take the Baron very, very quickly. You're seeing them come in, but it's going to be too fast. You'd have to imagine. Yep, it's already gone.
Okay, well, we do have the Gangplank ultimate once again. Lots of slowing from Beyond. And he's going to grab Max on in. Not enough damage to burst him down. Look at ADD coming from the side. Can he slow some of these members? Trying to get on top of Raze with the barrel, but in the end, MVP decide just to back off. They're not going to go in onto this one. That's another Baron going over to Kongdoo.
They're actually doing a couple of different things here. Shen thought about recalling, still has the ultimate available. They're trying to rush down a massive wave of Baroned up minions to take the final inhibitor of the game. This is a smart move. It wasn't the time to recall, and they can even put an Azir turret behind them.
It's going to be very nice. We'll see what they can do, having Soul in the front once again, but look at the amount of poke Ian just ate from Edge. Not going to be fun for him, but now we got Maha in the front. That death sentence was an inch away from Raze. Not going to land, though.
Because of the wall mogs, they can just back away, wait for Raze to regen and try again. So, as long as the Cannon Barrage is not up, they still have a lot of options here to Kongdoo Monster.
Still a very healthy inhibitor, but as I say, that Soul gets into position. Knocks it down to about half health at this point. All the inhibitors have respawned, by the way, so do have a nice little wave pushing down on the bot lane that someone from MVP is going to have to deal with, though, in a couple of seconds here.
So being very stubborn, trying to set up for this third inhibitor. Top inhibitor, I guess I should say, with the other ones respawned. so difficult because of the terrain and the fact the Raze is not really threatening, although Maha has to flash.
Yeah, they caught Maha, but the Cannon Barrage comes on in. They actually get the Shen, but they don't have enough damage. Kazakhs had to go all the way back home. Not even in this fight, finally rejoins. But they get that inhibitor, and Kongdoo Monster not looking at a full-on engage. By the way, that bottom lane I was talking about gets the inhibitor taken away. They could not look at it. That's going to be 2 inhibitors now for Kongdoo.
Yes, that's why they stayed brute forcing their Kongdoo. They also eyed the bot lane minions doing the dirty work for them. We see MVP rushing towards Elder Dragon. It's just spawned. They're confident there isn't too much vision around there by Kongdoo, given how much they invested to take the Baron. Elder Dragon would hold value for them because they have 2 Drake buffs themselves, but because they are 2 inhibitors down, 1 in top and 1 in bot, you have to push those minions very far, not stop yourself being exposed.
I mean, even if Beyond went in here and stole it away, I think Kongdoo could just push in 5v4. We're getting pretty late in this game. It's near 40 minutes. You can see Beyond is making an attempt, but Kongdoo Monster's not even starting it. They're like, you want to try to go for this, buddy? We're gonna push you away before we even think about it.
And they're able to do what they were doing around mid lane, push up vision, confident there's no vision from the side of Kongdoo Monster because they haven't been able to push into this area the entire game. And now you can face check a Zac if you want to, otherwise you're giving up an Elder Dragon.
Yep, no vision now. Even the Scuttle Crab going on the side of Kongdoo Monster. And no one getting started on that Elder Drake. They're just trying to push everybody away, especially Beyond. You can see even Roach, 4 members now up in the jungle saying, nuh-uh,
the reason why no one's starting it is that Azir smartly is like, let's also push the minion waves to add another thing for MVP to have to respect before we actually start DPSing down Elder Dragon. So we talked about MVP, did not dot their I's and cross their T's. That's what Kongdoo's trying to do here. About 25 seconds before the top lane minion wave is going to push in, and that's why Kog'Maw just says, well, got to give it up. And I love the mental fortitude of Kongdoo, not rushing. They're not in a rush. They have the scaling advantage. They have the gold lead. They have the kill lead. Everything's in their column. So why half-ass the setup and then lose from a Elder Dragon steal? No need to do that.
It's kind of that feeling that you get in solo queue where the only way you lose is if somebody throws. And nobody is throwing on the side of Kongdoo Monster. They all came to play today. And that's a really great sign coming into 2018. Perhaps a new mental state, a mindset coming into this series. Even against a team like MVP, they look so prepared. They're like, we are not losing in this first game. So they get the Elder Drake. Now they're pushing on this mid inhibitor. Will just be a matter of time before the double super minions come down every lane. ADD taking too much damage, will have to back off, and down goes the inhibitor. Well, as I say that, we got another hook here onto Sol, who actually leaps forward. Not scared of anything at this point in this game.
If either Azir or Tristana solo down anyone, their focus fire will kill basically any member of MVP. So Sol's willing to just buy time while Azir had free fire. Speaking of free firing, we're just getting a couple of orders onto this Nexus turret.
Yeah, I mean, it's just way too many super minions to deal with us at this point. They need some sort of engage from a death sentence, from a gangplank ultimate, some way to get on in. But MVP from this far behind, not really finding the opening they're looking for.
Very unlikely this will not be the final passage of the game. 2 super minion waves coming in. ADD trying to stop one as much as he can.
All on his lonesome, it looks like at this point. Raze, he is getting locked down forever, but he kidnaps himself away and even gets a Shen ultimate. Kongdoo Monster, they are playing this so carefully, so meticulously as they take down these 2 Nexus turrets.
Giving a bit of time for Raze for the Warmock's healing to buff him up, and also the 1.5 Ocean Drakes, because they still have the Elder Dragon buff. And he's full health again, because that's how Warmogs rolls.
It's very nice. I like it. Oh, we got this Nexus turret about to go down. And there it goes. This is looking really futile for MVP. They're jumping on in. Max by himself. Ian on the left side being 1v1 by Roach. And ADD and Beyond trying to make it work. They get 1 kill. And the reset onto Beyond, but he has to pop himself back. And ADD does have that GA taken off cooldown, as does Beyond. The GP ultimate comes on in again. Looks like he still had the stopwatch, actually, Roach.
Can they actually finish here?
Maybe not. Doesn't look like they can. Sol is going to be jumping out of this one. Raze does dodge the death sentence, but not enough super minions are pushing in and too many people dead on the side of Kongdoo, and the game is not over.
Beyond actually found the assassination onto Edge over an extended period, took him down, and they couldn't actually close the game, so credit MVP. Kongdoo Monster, it felt like a couple too many people kind of went into business for themselves, had different agendas on whether to end the game or DPS someone down. It kind of spoiled it there. They're going to have to come back, so that passage of play doesn't end. So this was the kind of unclean passage of play that we didn't see in the 40 minutes previously from the side of Kongdoo Monster. Notice on the top Beyond, you know, we think about late game Kha'Zix. I remember a game from the NALCS where Lyra went or a tank Kha'Zix at the end just because trying to make Kha'Zix work in a base defense 5v5 is usually impossible. MVP is straight onto the Baron. Can't see the minimap, but I do see Raze in screen. They're going to have to roll the dice. They have to take a risk, and here's a big one.
Okay, TB coming on in. They're going to catch Maha in the back, and he's going to be taken out immediately. That is so unfortunate for them. ADD goes down, as does Beyond and the Baron. Oh, they had to go for it, Papa. You gotta give them props for that. They don't get it, but that's going to be the win for Kongdoo.
You give Kongdoo Monster one mistake, and otherwise this game, this series, pretty damn good for them. Almost a perfect game in game one. They had to toil more here, but they toiled smartly. They did not have a fiesta. They played intelligently. Couldn't finish the game a moment ago, but they're going to do very soon.
Yeah, they're going to take out the last two remaining members of MVP, end that one with an ace, and the Nexus going down. Our second 2-0 of the night, this one ending in 44 minutes. As Kongdoo, they're looking pretty solid. Good mindset coming into this one. Very clean wins against MVP.
Because it's just our second set of the season, we don't know what it means for either of these teams, but it does mean the next time Kongdoo plays, there's going to be a lot more interest, both from the casters, their fans, the audience as well, because they showed here they can play markedly different styles of League of Legends, and both times ended in a pretty convincing victory. So the Kongdoo organization, a multi-esport organization, has never really found success in the LCK. Till now, success has represented staying in the league or getting back to the league. Finals experience in Gyeonggi a couple of years ago in a weak field, the only other thing to show for it. This was a really good performance from Kongdoo Monster.
Yeah.
Does it mean a lot? We don't know, but it was good.
I love that you say that everybody's going to be looking at them with more expectation, because that's what they're looking for. That's how you become a bigger team, right? You got to start from the bottom and then win by win, even if it's a 2-0 over MVP. We were certainly impressed by their play. This is not what we were expecting out of them. And you can see that MVP, they're feeling the burn getting 2-0'd by Kongdoo.
Yeah, Beyond especially looking distraught. You know, we shouldn't mince words, Valdez. Both Spenu Sonic Boom and Kongdoo Monster have definitely had those patches where you're just waiting for them to be crushed, waiting for them to be pummeled. They've lost 7 sets in a row. Oh, it's KT versus Kongdoo.
2017 spring, man.
These things have happened for those bottom teams a lot, but suddenly there's expectation with Kongdoo. That, for their fans, is probably such a big thing. Just some MVP interviews mean so much for Kongdoo, whereas MVP, who didn't change a lot. They brought in Pilot. Maybe we will see Pilot next time out. Not that Maha was someone you would really single out on their side. I would actually single out their draft. I think in game one, you could say, okay, they tried some things around the power picks and it didn't work. I thought their game 2 draft was pretty all over the place as well, whereas Kongdoo had a much better read. So maybe if they can just sit back, watch some other matches, pick up the tournament meta, things will get better, because this was all over the place from MVP.
Yeah, a bit behind the 8 ball. We'll see if they can gather themselves, because as you mentioned, very distraught. Everybody in the booth was not a good way to start off 2018 for MVP, but Kongdoo Monster with a big win, 2-0 victory. Both of the games were very clean, only one big mistake, and you know, Kha'Zix can do some crazy things at sometimes. And he had Gangplank, who was pretty fed, also helping out with the DPS to get on in there. Either way, Kongdoo Monster does take this one. See lots of damage for Azir, as well as the Kog'Maw and the Gangplank in the end of this, but the gold advantage graph after about 15 minutes was all Kongdoo Monster all the way.
I mean, I come away from this series saying, well, you made one big roster change. Secret and Gugu were, you know, mixing around the support roles. That's not a big change, but you bring in Raze, who was a sub for Jinair. Massive check marks for Raze. Very good series from him. Very consistent between the 2 games after being a big carry in game 1. So maybe they found their 5 to actually be fighting for that middle of the table rather than the perennial cellar dwellers they've been so far.
perennial cellar dwellers. That's
not something you want to be. I feel like we're a bit biased also because we're wearing
complicated
internet, wearing Kongdoo garb here as well. You'll notice.
We actually are
wearing white shirts with Kongdoo green tie.
Yeah, you have the teal tie on right now.
Costa bias,
dark
baby.
Teal.
You got to embrace the Costa bias, Valdez.
I was pretty biased after that. 0-0-10 MVP is Raze on the Zac. Wasn't getting a lot of kills, but he never died, so that's something.
Here's the worrying part for MVP. 0010 is, you know, a James Bond codename, a secret agent codename.
Yeah.
He was kind of a secret agent on Zac because they never knew where he was. They kept looking to force things with no information on Zac.
Yeah.
That is what makes Zac look broken, because if he's in a ward channeling, you know exactly where to position. They had no idea at any point. And while Raze played well and deserves, I'd love to see Raze, because it's going to actually be Edge and Raze, the mid lane and jungle, who are going to be interviewed. You know, I'm loving to see the comments coming through from him. Yeah. But they made his life easier than it needed to be. It was poor from MVP on that in particular.
Yeah, when you, let's say they tried to play this against KT and Mata sitting on the Thresh, it would not look nearly the same. It would look like a totally different game. I mean, the Zac would just look not nearly as strong. So really, as we mentioned before, maybe they were just taking advantage of MVP's mistakes. Guys, we're going to be going into the interview now with our two MVPs. Unfortunately, not from Team MVP. This time from Team Kongdoo Monster. So let's hand it over to Songcaster and see what they have to say.
Thank you for your translation. And here we have Edge and Raze for the interview. Do you know what people rate you? People really concentrate and focus on your pretty appearance, but this time, I think you guys have proven your performance. Yeah, I'm really happy that I've proven that I'm a good player, and I want to get more attention on my performance. So for the first game, actually had a great performance. So you have proven that you're a mid laner who dominates the game. What kind of change or improvement have you gone through? Back in the days, I was trying not to dominate or carry the whole team, so I was in a bad positions. So I practiced on it to get rid of those kinds of mistakes. And the global caster has been asking that the synergy between two jungler and the mid laner is so good. Especially the first game with Zoe and Zarvan. You guys made a dive in the mid lane, so how much did you guys trust each other? I think it turned out as we prepared. And I also believe that mid laner and junglers are the most important players from the team, so I'm really happy. Speaking of Zoe, she was almost close to retirement because there were so many nerfs. So how do you rate Zoe as a champion? I think if you have great mechanics, I think she's a great champion. I think it's an 8-tier champion in the mid lane. So was that a faith in Zoe that you could make her dive in the mid lane? Yeah, I just told him to land his E skill, and we made the dive. So speaking of Zarvan, Ambition used to make item builds with tanky items, but you were not. What was your plan? Well, in the early games, I had some good grow-ups, so I was trying to get pressure with my damage, so I just thought of building some dealing items. Then, can you tell us about the top Illaoi pick? Well, our top laner has been working on it recently really a lot, so and he had a lot of skills to fight against Illaoi, so I think he was actually happy that he can face Illaoi as an opponent.
또 다른 질문들이 있습니다. 팬들이 굉장히 궁금해하는 것 중에 하나인데.
So a lot of people have been asking that the dance you have made in the fan meets.
어떻습니까? 레이즈도
How long have you been practicing on it?
일단 뭐 여태까지 게임밖에 안 해봤기 때문에
Well, I was just a gamer boy, so I haven't ever tried dancing before, but maybe next time I will dance better.
되게 많이 먹었더라고요.
Well, some people have been criticizing that we were dancing for our fans. I was really sad,
나중에 기회가 되면 연습해서 그것
but
때문에 경기를
I want to prove that it wasn't something that distracted us from our practice.
팬분들께도 더 즐거움 드릴 수 있도록.
그러면 다음 MVP 때는 저희가 반드시 음악을
Then
준비해가지고 뭔가
I hope we can prepare something for you to make a dance floor here.
콩두가 굉장히 달라졌다 이런 얘기를 했습니다. 지금
So we say it's a brand new Kongdoo.
이제 LCK는 4K다.
The Globalcaster has been calling
KT
the LCK teams in 4K. KT Rosers, KSB, and the Kingzone and Kongdoo. Those are the 4 stronger teams in LCK League.
그래서 실제로 달라진 경기력 때문에 막 술렁술렁거리고 있거든요.
Everyone is expecting a lot from your performance. What are your comments?
너무 영광인 것 같아요.
I think it's really happy that we can be part of the 4K.
지금까 5K가 되지 않을까요?
I think it should be 5K, including SK Telecom.
SK까지 챙겨줄 정도로 이제 오늘 승리 자체가 마음을 넓게 만들어준 것 같다는 좀 생각이 드네요. 그럼 이렇게 좀 콩도 약간 달라진 거는 뭐가 원인일까요?
So what was the main reason that you guys could go through such a great improvement?
레이즈가 드는 것도 있고 어떻게 생각해? 레이즈는 고개를 푸덕푸덕거리고 있는데.
네, 저는 뭐 당연히 그렇다고 생각하고
I think me
있습니다.
joining in the squad was the major change and great effect.
이번 시즌에 확실히 달라진 것을 보여주기도 하고 서로 다독이면서
We really prepared and we tried to cheer up each other preparing for this
이런
season.
것을 만들었다는 생각이 듭니다. 아니 두 명의 선수와 얘기를 나눠봤는데 진짜 달라진 콩두 몬스터 이번에 좀 기억하고 좋을 것 같다는 그런 경기 플레이를 보여줬잖아요.
You have proven yourself throughout the great place. So any message for your fans lastly?
부탁드릴까요?
많이 응원해 주시는 만큼 더 열심히 해서 이번에는
I will make sure to
탈출된 내가 아닌
meet your expectations and be a part of winning teams.
저도 작년에 좀 패배가 많았지만 이번에
Well, last year we lost a lot, but this year I'm gonna make sure that we're gonna be a winning team. And thank you for all the love and support. This will be the end of the interview. I'll hand it over back to you guys.
Thank you, Ji-sun, for the translation. We'll take a look at some of the highlights from game number 2. Raze on his Zac was pretty impressive throughout the entirety of the game.
Seemed very headstrong as well in the interview, saying that the Kongdoo organization started to level up when he joined. So I appreciate being that kind of headstrong player and putting some expectation on your back. And Kongdoo now go from, you know, I think the consensus 10th place team and across most power rankings for LCK Spring to a team that's worth watching to see if they're able to capitalize on what was an impressive performance by them, whereas on the other side, MVP certainly have a lot to show in their next match. We'll wait till the schedule to confirm their future games, but I believe they're playing again this week. So, yeah, really good stuff overall. I really liked Raze this game. He made the Zac work. They held the pick for later, so they're saying, all right, we're going to play something a little bit different. We're not just going for the Jarvan and the meta pick. We're going to go for the Zac and trust in Raze, and the trust was well-founded because he was very solid in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you can see ADD and Beyond having a little bit of synergy here, trying to fight back, but it was kind of just Kongdoo Monster sticking around a little bit too long, as it was here. You know, Roach fighting by himself up top, Edge taking a little bit too much damage here, and so they stopped the push. It was one of the bigger mistakes here for Kongdoo, but as you've been saying, this looks like a much better team, a lot cleaner compared to where they've been since 2017 spring. It is a new year. It's looking a lot stronger for Kongdoo Monster.
And the fact that there's been so many seasons of the LCK means these things like previous expectations do matter. For Kongdoo Monster and their sometimes half a season-long struggles to pick up a first match victory, it means a lot for this team for the first time ever to start their season with a win. And while the end may not necessarily be the same high they're on today, a 2-0 on the first match day is a great feeling for Kongdoo Monster.
And you were mentioning when would they play next? They're going up against BBQ Olivers. Perhaps one small step up on the Mortal Kombat totem pole. And BBQ Olivers with the new team. I know you've been wanting to talk about them a little bit, Papa.
I mean, on paper they look good, but on paper Kongdoo left, a very sour impression, and they were great today. And now facing BBQ in their first match, they can look at that and say, there's a chance we exit week 1 of the LCK 2-0, which is an incredible feat for the Kongdoo organization. But because it's BBQ's first series ever, together with these new players with Crazy and Ignar in the lineup, this is the time to strike.
Yeah, so one of the Ks up there with KSV and Kingzone Dragon X, who has played, are up towards the top, tied with KSV. Now, guys, I think there was a little bit of a mistranslation where we weren't saying that Kongdoo Monster was on the same level as the other K teams. We were just saying they were a team that started with K, got lost somewhere along the way.
It's a culture exchange, Valdez.
Yeah, it's, culture shock over here at the LCK. I was definitely shocked when I heard that, but that's, they're doing well so far. They're up there for now, so you got to give them something. But tomorrow, you got some good games as well. We didn't really get to talk about them. Afrika Freaks versus KT Rolster.
It's a fun one.
And then SKT versus Rocks Tigers.
And that is the 2016 fun one in 2018, sadly. But Rocks do have Kuzan debuting. It's going to be fun to see him. Still so much to learn. I feel like we only scraped the surface of patch 8.1, and I know you and I won't get to link up. There will not be, as you notice in the schedule, a SPO TV broadcast on Sunday, usually Sunday, Tuesday, Korean time. Other SPO TV days will be back on Tuesday, and then a special Friday match day on my birthday, Valdez.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be you and I
great.
for a great match. It's SKT versus KSV on that day, so we're looking far into the future, but there's a lot of fun coming, and a good first day, and yet I feel like the tier list, even in terms of the teams certainly, but even in terms of the picks, like we're seeing Ornn far too often. People are telling me that Zoe's overnerfed. I don't know what they're drinking right now. I don't know what they're smoking either.
I don't know what games they've been playing.
Yeah, she's real good.
She gets banned in solo queue every game as well.
Not necessarily.
A little bit easier with 10 bans in the beginning.
And you know what we won't be seeing? That much more Nidalee. Maybe Nidalee.
Maybe never again until next split.
No.
That would be nice. I'd be happy with that one. But the music has started. I think that means that we're just about ready to hand this one off into the darkness until you guys get to see LCK tomorrow. But it's been a fun one,
we did
Papa.
It. Day one done.
For joining me here at SPO TV. We'll see you guys next time for more LCK.